And we're back.
Episode 4.
Episode 4.
Do you want me to do the season 1 again?
Yeah, season 1. Will we be doing this as seasons, do you think?
No, I told you last time that it was a season. It says season 1.
So what, are we going to do like mid-year break and then suddenly just be like, and we're back for season 2?
Well, we can do, because we're pretty busy in June. I've got 3 concerts to go to.
Oh, okay, you're busy in June.
I'm busy in June.
And I don't really think a solo podcast just done by me is gonna... It's not gonna do much, is it, really?
Well, it might do, you don't know.
Yeah, I could just talk to myself.
You could do.
So what do you want to talk about today, then?
We're talking about being queer in the workplace.
Ooh, drama.
There could be drama.
There could well be drama.
We don't know.
No, we don't. I suppose not. Which is a far cry from what we was discussing last time round, which is history. No, it wasn't history, was it? What was we discussing last time?
And deck.
Ant and Dec, that was it. We sort of span off into different things, and I always forget where we were at. So, let's go to the first point then, shall we?
Okay, so I think what we're going to go through is things that people maybe make a mistake on, or they don't quite get right, or they don't know how to approach subjects, I guess, because it can be quite kind of awkward for, should we go with straight people, to sort of maybe ask questions or know what's right and what's wrong, and not to offend.
I think it's hard for a lot of people because, you know, the vast majority of people out there, they don't want to offend. That's not the aim.
No, they don't.
They just want to understand more, and they want to say the right things so they've not upset somebody, which is perfectly understandable. And I suppose that's where we come in really a little bit, is to try and explain it a little bit more, I guess.
It is, yeah, because the problem is that when you... Well, it's not even a problem, to be fair. I don't know about everybody, I can only speak for myself, but usually you are a minority group.
Yeah.
If you're gay and you're working somewhere, you're in a minority automatically, guaranteed. There's probably only about 4 of you out of 100 people that work in a business, potentially.
Definitely. I suppose it's a bit different. We've worked in hotels for pretty much our entire lives, and I've worked in hairdressing, so you know, it's not like there was much of many straight men in the hairdressing world. There is, but there wasn't the many.
The majority are gay.
So it's kind of one of those things where we sort of have a little bit more of a diverser kind of range of people that we used to work with.
Yeah.
In comparison to, say, I don't know, working in finance. I could be wrong. Never have worked in finance, so I don't know. But sometimes it does make you wonder what other places are like. Do you know what I mean? Because in hotels, it's so diverse. You've got people from every part of the country, from all walks of lives.
All different places in the world.
Exactly. Everyone has a different ideology. And for some weird reason, these tiny ecosystems just seem to
gravitate towards hotels and hospitality. And
not only that, it also seems to work as well, which I find absolutely crazy. Do you know what I mean? You would have thought that there would have been like wars well, I shouldn't say wars because of everything that's going on in Ukraine, but you would have thought it would be like people a constant attack, every single day. But it's not.
I think hotels is a special kind of breed of people that work in hotels. Let's be fair.
Special or crazy?
Both. Special crazy breed of people that work in hotels. Let's be fair, to work in a hotel, you have to have a couple of screws loose.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And anybody that's listening that has worked with us in hotels, I apologise, but you know I'm right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, anyone we've worked with in hotels, you were not saying.
Not even a little bit.
All.
There is something about you that's a little bit off.
Exactly.
That goes for us as well.
yeah, you willfully choose that environment. But I suppose that looking at, you know, how to kind of avoid issues or problems in the workplace, a lot of companies tend to have things on the bar nowadays, you know.
They do now. I think you know, we need to go back and forth, maybe compare the two from when we first started to the level that they have now. And if I'm being perfectly honest, if we're just going to base this off of hospitality industry, there is a lot more that they can do.
Yeah, I guess there is a lot more that they can do. I mean, there's probably a few things. I mean, let's just get into it now, shall we? So there was, from what I remember, going back to when we was working in one of the hotels. We won't mention it because, you know, we're not here to name names and one doesn't want to get sued. But when I was working in one of the hotels, I remember there was a situation whereby one person was brought in who was trans, and there was this whole debacle about them being, the male cleaner. And that was how they presented. They presented as male. But, the origin of said individual was female. But that was not the case in the current time period. And
They were transitioning into
They were
male.
transitioning, yeah. And there was a lot of
I think the trans
shit that happened.
I think the trans thing is the thing that we're struggling with. Well, not me particularly, but is the thing that people are now struggling with. I think when we were younger, maybe it would have been like how to approach somebody that is gay or lesbian or bi. I think that people trying to approach other people that are non-binary or trans is where the difficulty lies now.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
other people.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, because again, there was that sort of thing of where you don't want to offend. And then unfortunately, some people end up making a joke out of it, which inadvertently is quite offensive. And then there is other things where they tend to break it down a little bit too much or go into a little bit too much ideology of the whole situation. Well, this person used to be a woman, now they're a man, and they're hanging around men. Do you think that any of the male attendees within that room gives a shit? Probably not. We're over assuming here that this individual is going to walk into that room, start cleaning, and the first man that's in there is going to go, yeah, you were not originally, like they would even know. Do you know what I mean? Like it was even obvious. It was not obvious. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it is that kind of thing where people seem to put that at the forefront rather than anywhere else.
Do you know what makes me laugh is if trans people came to work for you and you were not told that they were trans, would you even know?
Exactly.
This is always my question. Would you even know?
Would you even know?
And I just, sometimes I have to wonder, would you even know?
Would you even know? And the thing about this is, it became this weird sort of, if I remember it correctly, it became this, not from the manager of that department, because they were very respectful, and I think their words were, fuck you all, this is what's happening, it's my club. And same with the general manager as well, they were completely on board. This came from other department heads and other department, individuals. But it was that sort of weird thing where it kind of brought to life the situation of, well, you have male changing rooms, female changing rooms, and then family changing rooms. No one ever said a damn thing if a man was cleaning the family changing rooms, where women would be getting changed anyway. Was never a discussion had. So it would seem strange to me that one trans person started, and suddenly that started a debate about whether it was right for a man or a woman to be in the opposing changing room, when in the family changing rooms, that had been happening for ages. Where was the sudden problem?
Well, there wasn't a problem, was there? They just clearly had a problem with the fact that this person was transgender.
Felt that way.
Well, it's the only possible thing for me, personally. If mixed genders have been doing that same job for years, and then a transgender person comes in and is then going to do the same job as male and female staff, and you now have an issue with it, you clearly have an issue with the fact that person is transgender, not with the issue that they have to do, that they are doing a job that a man and a woman have been doing for many, many years.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's not an
cleaning
issue.
The changing rooms that the problem was.
It's not an issue. It's not an issue, is it? It's that they have then got an issue with the person that is transgender.
It felt that way, and that was very recent as well. That was, within at least the past 10 years. I suppose that going back further,
I think it goes off of people as well, though. I've worked with somebody that was transitioning, and the team that I were working with were always very cautious, making sure they weren't saying the wrong thing, making sure they were using the correct pronouns, and making sure that person felt like part of the team. I think it depends on the people. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you have to ask yourself, what age bracket were those people in that were getting all upset over a transgender cleaner?
I mean, I don't really want to sort of call too much out or bring too much attention.
That's fair.
But I do think that you are right.
Sometimes I think it's the age bracket, just because, again, I worked with somebody that was transgender, and the age bracket of people, I mean, it was a very varied age bracket that I was working with anyway, but they just seemed to be more accepting than what you're saying for this male, transgender male cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. I think you are right. We do have to kind of look at it in that segment as well, because those that seem to give two shits about it were older than us. I'll say that much. Not over the hill, but not
And
under
for
either.
context, we're both just over the age of 30, so.
Yeah. I'm 29. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it is that a little bit. Is that, I don't want to sort of blame this whole thing on age, because that is ageist. But at the same time, the specific people, there was a specific age category that they fell into. And I suppose it is them as well that you kind of look at, because, us in the millennial phases, those that are younger than us, this is becoming a very normal thing for us to understand and to get to grips with.
I think it's easier as well for millennials and younger to just switch. I think it's really easy for us to not switch as in transgender and
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Binary.
You meant as in like understand.
I mean, if somebody that was assigned at birth female walked up to me and said, I now identify as male, it would not be an issue for me to go to then refer to them as he, him.
Yeah, well, exactly. And not only that, it's just not an issue anyway. For me, it's just a very...
I couldn't care less. Are you happy? Yes. Are you going to kill me? No, that's fine.
Good, great. But this is just it. I don't care. You call yourself male, you male. I don't, that's great. I'm not going to turn around and I'm not going to tell somebody what they do not feel. I'm not going to tell somebody how they should feel. This isn't me girl bossing, gaslighting, and gatekeeping individuals. The 3Gs. This is not me doing that. And I don't think anyone should do neither, to be honest with you. Which is probably...
I just don't see the issue.
Well, this is it. But this is probably why certain places of work have got it, narrowed down. I don't think we ever would have experienced anything like that many, many years ago when we first started in hotels. And I think that's because the thought of somebody coming out as trans, when I was 16 years old...
I didn't know anybody that was trans when I was 16
No, neither did
old.
I. But I don't think they would have come out neither.
No,
they would not have come into any business and turned around and been like, I'm trans. It wouldn't have happened. A lot had to change in order for that to happen. Which is shocking, really, that 10 years ago was the first time I had experienced that someone was trans in a workplace. Before that, never had. Strange. But I suppose looking back to being young, gay, not really promiscuous. I have to sort of run off with my own experiences of what it was like. And for the most part, I don't think I ever actually experienced any issues. Oh yeah, I'm trying to think about it now. There was one guy, an electrician, and I remember this. And the general manager remembers this as well, so I hope they're listening.
Then just for reference, me and Doug both used to work together in hotels until very recently when we started working separately. Yeah. So yeah, I remember this as well.
Yeah, it was, oh God, this electrician came in and was doing something.
Is it the phone lines?
Is it the phone lines or something like that? So basically, they'd come in, they'd ask to see the general manager, evidently thinking that the general manager was going to be a man.
A man, and it wasn't.
And then obviously, I ran off a few things. Little young me, same faggy voice. Do you know what I mean? Was just like, oh, no. Told him everything that he needed to know. Was not here for me. It was like I was speaking Mandarin. He must have literally just been like, this, homo has no clue what he's talking about. And it was basically a case of, I want to see, the general, go get the general manager, go get him. I was like, oh, okay then. Goes, grabs the general manager, who was female. She comes out, speaks to him, relays everything that I have said, because ultimately she had to ask me what needed to be done.
The issue was, yeah.
It relays it for what I've said.
Because your GM usually has more important things to be worrying about than the phone line.
Yeah, exactly. Relays what I've said back to this guy, word for word. And his words were, all right, then I'll do that then. I was like, wow. I was literally, he did not speak my language. And then there was, I think, another incident I remember. But again, the weird thing is, all of these instances that I remember were not from people I worked
from colleagues.
with. No, it was from those from the outside.
Was this the other one at a different hotel that we moved to?
Different hotel that we moved to.
Same general manager.
Same general manager. Different hotel, and it was to do with online feedback, because obviously back in those days you used to stay at a hotel and you get an email and it'd be like, tell us how you really feel about the place, and then they would fill it all out. Well, I'd obviously checked this person in because my job was reception, And literally done everything the way I was supposed to do. Was upbeat, was friendly, gave them my best American style checking in that I ever could do, because apparently that's what hotels like. Couldn't have done more for him. And I remember he left feedback the next day to the general manager, and it was along the lines of, great check-in process, blah, 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 couldn't have done enough for us, but what I really didn't need was the cabaret act from the overtly gay, whatever, receptionist at reception. This is very off-putting. I will not be back. And I remember the general manager sent him an email back going, good, we don't want you back. But again, that sort of, me just being me, being cheerful, being happy, being, smiley and, whatever else. I am very talkative and very open with my arms and very, effeminate with my
you were
voice.
hugging the guests as they came in.
No, but at the same time, he really didn't like the fact that I was, not a deep, manly man that was...
lifting weights behind the desk.
Yeah, lifting weights and being like... I can't do straight mail.
Do you want to check in? I don't know.
He really did not like it.
I don't know. At least the GM had your back though.
Well, yeah. But it's strange to sort of think back at that, because...
So you've never had anything from anybody that you've ever worked with?
No, not that I can remember. And I think the thing is, everyone that I ever worked with was probably too afraid of making a joke, or of upsetting me or offending me. And the reality is, I do not offend easy. I say a lot of offensive stuff myself. They could have got away with a lot, and I would have taken it as joking. And they never did. And I think it's again because people just didn't want to upset somebody. They didn't want to see me upset because they'd said the wrong word or insinuated something. Yeah, until they really got to know me. And even when they really got to know me, they still didn't.
Wouldn't. I've had the same issues, that regardless of how long I've worked with people, it was almost like they still didn't know how to approach the subject, which is quite sad, really. Bearing in mind some of these people that I could have worked with for 7 years or more, and they still didn't feel comfortable enough to ask me anything. And you know what? Sometimes I think that I made a rod for my own back, to be perfectly honest, because in certain situations they might come up to me and go, and it's in that it's. I know that these people are not hateful people or hurtful people, but when they say things like, I don't understand all these different labels for being non-binary or gender fluid, and why there has to be so many, I get quite annoyed at their ignorance, and it results in me probably snapping at them in the wrong way, which is probably why they would never then approach me with anything along those lines, I guess, because I can get quite angry at people's ignorance, and it's not necessarily their fault. But at the same time, I'm saying it's not their fault, but then they're not educating themselves to learn any of these things.
No,
I guess.
But
I could answer it better.
Think of it this way: in a lot of senses of educating oneself, sure, we could all, afford to be a little bit more thoughtful and read up on a few more things. But if it doesn't affect your daily life, i.e., it's not the world you live in, or, Harry from the gift shop is gay and that's the only person that I know that's gay, why would you then seek to broaden your understanding of that community when it's not the world that you live in? In a way, I'm not justifying it, but I understand when people sort of then come to the only gay person they know and go, could you, what? I don't understand this. And I get that.
No, I do, and they're not horrible people. They're lovely people that I've worked. Some of them are lovely people that I've worked
with. You really had to correct that.
I know that they don't mean it in an offensive way, and I know that they're just looking at broadening their education and their knowledge. But I don't know. It just makes me angry, I guess, because anything that I've ever learned about my own community, I've looked for myself. Nobody's fucking taught me.
No.
Nobody's sat me down and gone, this is this, this is this, and this is that.
No, but again, that's because we live in this world. We have to figure it out.
I know, but and every human lives in the entire world, and you're going to come across these people at some point in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So broaden your own mind and your own education.
I understand. I don't think I can get on board with the sort of you have to do this for yourself. In some ways, I think it's more about. I'm not saying that all gay people should become encyclopedias. Do you know what I mean? It's like on 1912. That no. But at the same time, even someone just asking the question is enough for me to go, oh, they want to know. They want to understand this. And they want to do it from a person who lives in that world. They want that answer from someone with first-hand knowledge, not the internet where you're going to get crazy
well, no, I know, because you
left-hand,
do end
right-hand
up with
views.
like 200 different versions of the same thing, and then
Yeah.
it gets them even more confused.
Yes.
And especially along the non-binary and non-conformant area, I think that's the bit that confuses them more than anything. Like, I know that we said about transgender, but I think that's fairly simple for them to understand, you know, assigned female, but you're actually male, assigned male, but you're actually female. I think that they understood those things better than the non-binary, non-conformant, gender-neutral minefield, which I understand, because there is a lot of different words, but essentially, don't most of them pretty much mean the same thing?
Well, it's a spectrum,
It's
so
a spectrum
they
of
all
different
fall under the umbrella. So you just have to understand the individual terminologies and what people choose to identify more as of or. Yeah, I think it's got to be difficult for a lot of people, and I suppose if you have a friend that is knowledgeable or understands it, I do think it's easier to get it from that person. I think that too many times people do try and self-educate and go to the wrong places.
Potentially,
they go to the dark
maybe.
side.
My point was just that I just get angry.
Yeah, your point is that you just get angry
I just get
at
mad. But in regards to derogatory comments, so like I didn't have a great deal to do with the general public because I was back of house, so I never received any sort of nasty comments from the general public.
No.
And I don't think I did. I didn't particularly with anybody that I worked with. It was always quite funny in the first hotel that I worked in. You were there. There was a few of us. There was a few gay people there, and we would always have like it's always like that weird understanding of banter, like calling each other gay or calling each other like, oh, you big butch lesbian, or
Mary.
Oh, you fag, or whatever.
Mine is
like,
always Mary. That is always what I go to.
Like that was like, it's really weird because you can do that to each other, and you know where the limit is, and it was always quite funny, I guess, between the few of us that were gay. And then you could see the straight ones like, oh, you can't, like Karen in the corner.
Well, it's an interesting one because from what I remember of the whole thing, it was the most familiar that I ever became was with those that were gay, that were lesbian, whatever. And again, I suppose it's because when you've walked a mile in another person's shoes, then you kind of already have that.
You just already have that understanding. Like I always found it really different because if somebody is inside your community and you're working with them, there's an automatic understanding that you're not going to get with anybody else. So then you can push each other's buttons and push each other's boundaries and have a laugh and banter better with somebody that's inside your community than you can with somebody that's not.
So not so much though. I remember quite distinctly there was two, and they were offended by Gay Bar by Electric Six.
I love that song. They were, but we didn't really speak to those. They weren't even in our departments.
No, they weren't. No, but this is what I mean, is that there are still some in the community
obviously.
that I'm not going to turn around and say like, oh, that's snowflake. No, the only snowflakes here are the people calling somebody else a snowflake. No, but there are some that still do not resonate with that kind of mindset, that don't feel relaxed around it.
And those, and that's fine. And with those people, not to push
Yeah, definitely.
in that direction, and that's fine. But I wasn't tremendously close with those people because they weren't in my circle of work.
Same.
But what I'm saying is the ones that were queer in our circle of work, that's where those boundaries and that banter would come in.
Yeah.
Obviously, if somebody new came in and they identified under the queer umbrella, you would make sure to see where that boundary is before you would ever do anything like that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the first thing you wouldn't walk up to a newly introduced
You raging fag.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Step to it, Mary. We've got shit to do. You know, the first thing, you wouldn't, that would not be the first words out of your mouth to somebody new. You know, just the same as a straight person's not going to be like that to another straight person. It just doesn't work. But yeah, I think that after time, you do kind of build up the rapport with people, and it does become that sort of thing where you know how to have a laugh with somebody who is of your kind, if that's the right words to say.
Of your kind. Those people I think you establish a better relationship with. So there was always that, but I wouldn't class that as, like, not in my books as derogatory. It was banter and it was funny, and it was only between that little group of people at the time. But I have heard people say derogatory or insulting things, homophobic things,
but purposefully, or here's where it's probably going to cause a bit of like a divide, because I'm not going to stand here and say that if someone turns around and says faggot and they don't actually mean it in an offensive way, I'm not going to stand here and just be like, cancel that person, they are homophobic. No, there is probably more to it than just that. And that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, because they're probably going to go, that word should not be used by anybody but us. Or we shouldn't even be using that word should just disappear.
Well, technically it's a brand of meat, isn't it? You get it in the frozen section in Asda.
No, that's what they call them faggots. No, an actual faggot was I believe it was a plank of wood.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, like a faggot was a plank of wood, and then obviously it's changed and gone through the ages. Just the same as queer meant strange, gay meant happy. Do you know what I mean? All these words have evolved. But and then that's probably the reason why I don't really care about the words, because ultimately it's just language. It's evolved from X, Y, Z. And will continue to evolve with time. I don't care. Call me whatever you want. You ain't going to come up with something that I've not already heard. Do you know what I mean? And you ain't going to come up with something that I don't already use. So get over it.
Well, no, I'm saying it was used in the context. It wasn't like outright. Actually, no, it was outright.
As in purposefully against said individual.
It was to begin with that they would say something. It was almost like it just fell out of their mouth. You know, like when your brain, when your brain doesn't compute with your.
So you just say
with your vocals, and
the first thing
turn
that comes
around
into your head
and call somebody a faggot or whatever. Yeah. I did say something to said person, and they stopped saying it to people, but would then still call people that word behind a closed door.
Oh, I see. So
and say, I don't like him, he's a fucking faggot or whatever. Oh. And it's like that griped me.
Yeah.
A lot. And I would say multiple times, please stop saying that. Yeah. Because it's not because it offends me. It doesn't offend me. I'm not a faggot. It doesn't offend me at all. But the thing is that when you're using that as a straight person, and what if there is some young gay kid wandering through your department that hears you using that in an abusive or in an insulting way, that is then petrified because they think that that's how you're going to respond. And the thing is that to somebody that is gay or inside the queer community, that person would never say that to them. So it wasn't being said to gay people or queer people. It was just being said as an insult
to
somebody,
insult.
A general insult. And it's like, I'm not offended. You're not saying it to a gay person. You're saying it to a straight person. But if there is... What if you don't even know, like, the context of somebody? Like, how well do you really know people when you're in work? That person could have actually have been gay, but now wouldn't say anything because you're throwing that insult around without any thought that could really upset someone.
Well, there's more to it than that as well, which is that effectively the use of said word is discriminatory.
Technically, yes.
So really, the person could lose their job, and that's not even an over exaggeration. You know, one case of discrimination in a workforce against a minority is a sackable offence. It is gross misconduct, because that's the world we live in. HR is so very prominent in any business that, you know, is in effect in today's world. You just have to be so careful with it. And I think that, again, if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to say that, you either have to fucking stick by your convictions and be gung-ho about the fact that you're going to use that word and be proud of it, or just don't fucking use it at all. Do you know what I mean? Be real prepared with it. It was like with, here's where we're going to like reverse it and say, have you ever experienced like prejudice? And I'm going to turn around and just be like, no, but I am going to tell you about the time when people thought I was being prejudiced. Well, I say that and I don't say that, but it was a weird, there was a weird situation where when I started in a different hotel, I had to be very careful about what I said to certain people, just because there was comments and statements made in the past about bullying and stuff like that. Not about me, I wasn't the bully, but about previous managers and things. And so I was always trying my hardest to be the most PC person that I could ever be. And that included, because you know me, a lot of the time, and I rarely do it now, but a lot of the time I used to be like, bitch, no, don't even, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it used to be so just free flow out of my mouth that when I started in the other place, I really had to not do it because it could have really upset somebody. And I remember it changed my entire sort of vocabulary across that time, and it's affected it now. I really don't use a lot of offensive words, nearly one half as much as what I used to. And that was because I wouldn't have had enough conviction to have stood there if someone got upset and gone, it was just a joke, lighten up. Because they would have been upset by that. Not me. They would have. And that changed the whole situation. Now I thought to myself, yeah, I really can't do that.
I do think that your vocabulary and your language evolves over time anyway, just because you're getting older, and the fact that what was once funny when you were 20 is not actually funny when you're 30. And I think that when you
age.
well, I also think that when you're younger, you're a little bit naive to the world around you and what's actually going on. And as you get older and you start paying more attention to the world and not just the little bubble that you live in, you just sort of realize that, you know what, there's more important things going on in life than using the odd throwaway comment that could be deemed offensive.
Yeah, you kind of change it all, don't you, and think to yourself, what's more inclusive? How am I going to not cause offense?
Like, you could just say something that's off the cuff that you've said to a billion people, but you could say it to that one person, and it could be detrimental.
Could be. Yeah. Someone could get really upset by it.
It could be even worse than just being upset by it. Do you know what I mean? It could escalate to something that nobody wants on their conscience. So I just think that people should be careful with the words that they use, I guess.
I agree.
But if we're going into that, just for statistics, because we love a good statistic, 1 in 5 queer people actually experience derogatory comments in the workplace. 1 in 5. It's quite a lot when you think about it. It's about 18% of the queer community experience derogatory comments.
It's high, and I suppose I would end up turning around and throwing my own hat into the ring there and saying that I have experienced derogatory comments, but again, not from people that you work with. I worked with.
I've not had derogatory comments aimed at me, but I have heard comments that would be deemed derogatory, I guess, or offensive.
Well, then the other part of this that had me on the pinch and dime was whether or not because I don't take offence that easy.
Whether you've missed stuff.
But yes, 100%.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder if I've missed stuff as well, because it does. The older that I've got, the less I pay attention to
anyone.
Anyone. Literally.
Police.
Well, no,
Taxman.
When I was younger, that probably would have really upset me. Now that I've got older, I just don't even listen. I'm just like, fuck off. I'm too busy trying to defend.
I'm too busy being me.
No,
you worry about you.
Like I'm too busy trying to protect and defend other people, other minorities. You know, like I said, I was
Yeah,
working
I'm trying
with
to
a
spread
trans,
awareness. Yeah.
I was working with a trans kid, and I wouldn't have noticed if anybody was saying anything homophobic or offensive towards me, because I was listening out to make sure that nobody was saying anything that would have been offensive towards him. Because in my eyes, he's only a young lad, and I wouldn't want anything to happen to somebody, a young trans kid, because we see how many times shit like that happens, and it's not a good feeling. So if somebody was being horrible towards me, I wouldn't have noticed, because I was too busy making sure nobody was being horrible towards him.
Like I say, I just don't think I would have noticed, because I just didn't. I don't think I ever picked up on anything being offensive to me, and that's probably just because I didn't see that much as being offensive. Someone could have turned around to me full blown and just been like, "Hey up, Mary, why don't you like, I don't know, get your gay little self down to blah 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 and do no, you high pitched wuss," and I'd just been like, "Okay," like duh, 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 duh. It literally would never have even crossed into my mind that someone was being offensive. I think because I just don't take that much as an offence, or because it's so indirect, or I see people as having a laugh and a joke, probably too much, that I just couldn't differentiate the difference between offensive and funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I spoke to a friend of mine who I've worked with previously, and asked her for anything that she's ever had. She's also inside the queer community, and she wrote back to me and said that her current bosses are religious, but they're very understanding. And she said that she's always been nervous of saying her sexuality, as it leads to questions. I think this might be on her end of if she's just another box that's being ticked for equal opportunities.
Oh, that's one.
Or do they genuinely want to hire her because of her skills and talent?
Yeah.
That's, it's a fair point, to be fair. Like, I think I suppose that is a question. Like, are you just hiring me because of equal opportunities? If you openly said that, but I guess you don't walk into an interview and go, "I'm gay." I don't.
Speak for yourself. No.
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Full drag performance through.
Yeah. Fireworks and everything. Listen, I understand that. I think that there is, I know this individual as well. She's a friend. I know her as well. And I understand where she's coming from. One part of me is so big-headed.
You'd want to be.
Yeah, the part of me is just like, well, I hope so. Do you know? Where they're like, "Do you think they just picked you because you're gay?" I'm like, well, I hope they did, yeah. And I suppose it is big-headed. It is stupid of me to say that, because that is actually offensive to a lot of people. They don't want to just be their sexual identity. They want to be who they are. But I suppose I've never thought. Again, another side of my big-headedness is I've never thought, am I just statistically being employed because I'm gay? Because the other part of my big-headedness is, no, I'm so great at everything I do. Do you know what I mean? That I'm like, when someone's like, "Oh, you're hired," I'm like, I know. I'm already at the desk. Yeah, do you know?
I've checked in 100 people. Where the hell have you been?
I started last week. I'm already on payroll. So there is one
I'm best friends with the accounts manager. I don't understand.
Yeah. So one side of me is very like, oh, I don't even think about the fact of being gay as being just a statistic. I think it more along the lines of like, I'm so good at what I do. But I suppose looking retroactively at it, it could be a thing. But I also don't see how that's bad. Do you?
I don't know if it's bad. Would you really? I don't know why I would even ask you, because you couldn't give a shit either way. But I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't want to be I wouldn't want to be hired for a job just on an equal opportunity basis. I want to be hired for the job because I'm fucking good at it. But I've never felt that way anyway, because apart from my first 3 jobs, I then don't think I've really interviewed for a job since, because I've got it on merit, and it's not what you know, it's who you know basis.
Yeah.
Of being moved from
yours
hotel
has been
to hotel.
very, I know a person.
I know this person.
Bring her in. Yeah.
And I've gone in and met with the department head and maybe hung out with him for a few hours and then got the job.
Yeah. I like to think mine was my dazzling smile.
I don't think mine had anything to do with the equal opportunities. I'm hoping that it just was based on pure talent, and I swear to God, if any GM ever says any different...
No, we needed a lesbian.
No, we needed a lesbian.
That was the only way to fill the quota.
I know one GM that would probably say that just for fun. Like, no, I really needed a lesbian in my hotel.
Listen, I had a box to tick. You were there.
She also went on to say that unless it comes up in conversation, she's always been assumed to be straight because she's not a stereotypical, I'm using air quotes, stereotypical looking lesbian.
I was shocked though when I found out that she was. I'm not going to deny it. When I was told, I was like, really? I was like, oh, I wouldn't have put her in that category. Didn't now, yeah, but not then.
But she says that she has had some issues when she obviously once people then determine or find out when she does come out as being a lesbian that people that she worked with in a warehouse once couldn't grasp that her partner was a woman. I don't. How would you not grasp that?
Yeah. Having said that,
they always referred to her partner as a he as well.
Having said that though, I remember I worked with somebody once, and they worked in warehousing, and I'm not going to turn around and say that it's all people who work in warehouses. So if you work in one, I'm not aiming this comment at you, but there is a weird sort of prehistory kind of person who tends to work in a warehouse. It tends to be the same category of people in some ways. Not all, but most. I could understand there being quite a bit of a, if you walk in and go, oh well, I'm gay, suddenly, it's like talking to someone from Thailand. They'd be like, you come from Mars and your skin is purple. Yeah, people would see that as being the most strangest thing in the world. And I remember the person that I used to work with, he once said that to me. He said that if he'd have never got out of working in a warehouse, he fears he would still be the same as them, which is not necessarily homophobic, but that same sort of category of, blah, I don't want anything to do with that, or pansy.
She also said that she's had guys saying to her that they could turn her back straight.
This is the number one thing that lesbians get all the time.
She put here, it used to anger her.
It angers me as a gay man. I don't care anything about lesbians, but no. Kidding. But it angers me as a gay man. And that's because there is nothing more asinine and absolutely pathetic than a man flexing his ego and tiny penis at a lesbian woman and going, I could turn you, straight. Yes, because that's what a lesbian's looking for. A single man to come along and teach her how to be straight. Fuck off. You have no fucking clue. And if any straight man is listening to this and has turned around to a lesbian and said, I could turn you straight, turn off. Abandon us. Do not come back. I have nothing to say to you.
Every lesbian has experienced that comment.
It's so stupid. It just reeks.
I've experienced that comment.
It's gross.
Multiple times.
It is so gross.
I think so. I want to say that one of the people that said it to me was saying it as a joke, but he would say it a lot.
Yeah, again, there is this whole thing of like a joke, blah blah blah, and it is funny.
It was quite fun. Sometimes it was funny. Sometimes if I wasn't in the mood, it'd be really
annoying. Yeah,
I'd used to tell him to shut up, and he would.
But this is just it. There is certain levels of a joke, but I mean like ones that mean it. Do you know what I mean? They pass it off as a joke, but it's fucking not.
When they've hit on you and you've gone, sorry, I'm a lesbian, and then they're like, I could turn you straight. Like,
yeah,
no,
because their little fragile ego's been turned out.
It's not how it works. Not how it works. She also said this didn't happen to her. This happened to somebody else. But they were working, and this person is also a lesbian, and the owner was calling out gays and calling them puffs, all the names under the sun, saying how disgusting it was to be gay. She only worked there for 2 weeks. She left.
We can say it on air.
I actually said that she lasted a lot longer than I would have done, because I would have left. I'd have been the second that it was that bad.
Yeah.
My friend said to me that she thinks she only lasted that long because it didn't get back to her for 2 weeks, and then when she found out, she left.
Ah, I see.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. shocking.
It's bad. Like, I've never experienced anything that horrendous.
No, I think I would remember it as well. I think I would remember something like
Something that bad.
Something blatant.
Something that's blatant, like, gays are disgusting, I hate you, you
Yeah.
burn in hell.
100%. Because if
Science
someone's
sake.
saying that, you know that they, you know, it's that kind of vitriolic speak that you're going to remember, of course. But, you know, I don't think anyone has ever done that to me. Not in work, anyway, at least. Certainly not in work. A lot of people just tend to skirt around it. And then they leave because they're uncomfortable. I'm like, I ain't going to change. But they, you know, it's on them ultimately at the end of it all.
That's all that she had to say, so thank you for your story. It's
Thank
much
you.
appreciated. We appreciate it. So there was a couple of points that I found on the internet, and another one was that 30% of employees that are queer feel uncomfortable at work.
Uncomfortable like how? As in like these pants don't fit that well? Or...
No, I think it's just uncomfortable being queer in the workplace. So some of the things that I read was that there was a report from this guy, and he was gay, and he felt like he couldn't come out in the workplace because, I don't know, of bullying, or it made him uncomfortable, or... So I guess in that sense, really, some people just feel uncomfortable being gay at work.
Maddening, isn't it? And I don't understand.
I don't really know what... I think they worked in an office.
I suppose I can understand. There is still a lot of people that are very self-conscious about it. And that's, you know, sometimes there are things that we have to come to terms with ourselves as individuals. If you're a very private, a very shy, or a very reserved individual, making that sort of statement about your sexuality is a very big step. And it is effectively like walking into the office and going, I sleep with men. It is quite bold.
I think really with that in mind, I guess you would have to go back to before you came out. Like when it's almost like that. I'm guessing it's that feeling of like, I'm gay but I've not told anybody. Like,
yeah.
Ooh, what do I do?
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's that sort of thing. Because let's be fair, as a queer person, all you ever do is fucking come out to people.
Yeah, that's
no matter
true.
what you do, it doesn't matter what, does it? Like if we, we're both working from home right now, but if I went and worked in another hotel, I would have to come out to everybody in there.
All over again.
To some extent. I mean, I do look like a lesbian, so I guess I wouldn't to everybody, but...
What does a lesbian look like, per se?
No, well, it does... No, a lesbian doesn't look like
stereotypical.
anything. A stereotypical lesbian. It was quite funny, the last place that I worked at, one of the guys came up to me and he went, I'm just going to check... So I'm going to ask you first if I please tell me if it was very sweet. He went, please tell me if I do offend you. Are you a lesbian? And I just went, yes I am. And he went, that's all right then.
Do you think he was going to say and go, are you a man?
No, he just outright asked me if I was a lesbian. So I don't usually have the issue of having to come out, but you do, because even though I do look like a stereotypical lesbian, you still have to come out because they would then want to check just to make sure.
Yeah, it's true. I remember at the previous place I had to, but I didn't have to. Again, nobody
has to.
No one has to.
It's almost like
but
it ends up that you are.
Well, it kind of just comes out in conversation naturally. Listen, I am, over the top. I am expressive. It would be very difficult for me to walk in somewhere and someone be like, "Are you straight?" and me be like, "Yes." No, I came out doing Flashdance. It's one of those things where you kind of sometimes cannot avoid it. But I suppose if I was shy or reserved or, naturally not so open about things, yeah, I suppose it would be weird having to tell a bunch of strangers that you don't really know, hey, guess what? I have sex with men. That is just so not a thing that one would normally do. And shouldn't have to as well, actually, I suppose, thinking about it. I've never walked in somewhere and someone's turned around and gone, well, I have sex with men and it's a woman telling me. Why would she tell me? Why do I have to tell her what mine is? Do you want to sort of go on to this topic, which is the most hated thing of every single gay, lesbian, trans individual in the entire community? Which is when a straight person walks up to you and says, I can set you up with someone.
I've never had anybody walk up to me and say I could set you up with somebody.
Have you not?
I think maybe somebody wanted to set me up with the one from Leisure and I was like, no. Yeah, apart from that, I don't. Nobody's ever tried to set me up. No.
I have. People have tried.
The problem is that I've got a very different exterior to you. So like people are generally scared of me. Like like on approach, they're like, "Whoop, shit."
Yeah, no, they really won't. Yeah, the people are more afraid of you than me. Whereas with me, I sort of like, I'm the most open and energetic person, but that to other people translates as, "I'll set you up with my, exaggeratedly loud gay friend and you'll have a great relationship." And I'm like, oh, that's not what I'm looking for. You think I want to date me? No.
I mean, if we're being perfectly honest as well, I don't think that there's ever been a massive window of time where I've been single, so that probably doesn't help.
You're just like, I just go from one relationship to another.
Well,
I have no problems.
I did. I don't now. I don't just bounce from relationship to relationship now.
Don't ever give people relationship advice.
I wasn't planning on.
How can I find someone that I love? I don't know. I've always had a relationship. No. Wow.
I wasn't bragging.
It's not relatable.
I wasn't bragging about it. I was just saying that nobody's ever tried to set me up because the window of opportunity of between being single between exes has been very minimal.
It still sounds like
until the last gap, which was a lot bigger.
Oh my god! No, I have had people. I can't help it. It sounds like you're bragging.
I'm not. I swear. How can I brag if you say they're all my exes now? So it's not really a brag, is it? We've lived through those traumas together.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
right.
Yes, we have.
Right.
And no, I've had people say it before, and yeah, the one word that has always come back from me is, I'm not interested in your friend. Because I know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to team me up with someone who's just like me. And oh my god, why would I even want to be a part of that? Do you know what I mean?
You don't know though unless you try.
No, I know exactly. Because then it's like they show you pictures and all the rest of it and stuff, and the person's there pissing glitter, wearing all the rainbows in the world. And whilst that's great because that's what I do, but that's not necessarily someone that I'm gonna want to have as a matched energy level. Do you know what I mean? I don't then want to go home after a hard day's work and then be like, nah, and it be that. That's great for a friend, but certainly not somebody for a relationship.
You don't date anyway.
No, I don't. I try and stay perpetually single. Life is easier that way. Because then the only person I have to get angry at is myself. And I don't need any sort of, push to do that.
So the end of that one then is just don't try and push your single gay friend on your single gay work colleague.
Oh yeah, don't do it. I don't want them. They don't want me. But they might want me.
Because his head's that fucking big.
No, they don't. I don't want them. They don't want me. We don't want each other. And what we've taken from all of this is that Kaylee never has a problem getting dates.
Do you know what? That's actually very true. I haven't.
Have any issue.
I have never had an issue dating.
Does your current date listen to this?
I don't know if she does or not, no. Why did you whisper it?
I don't know, yeah, I know. I'm there with the microphone.
I'm there with the microphone. Dating, does she listen to this podcast?
I'm there with the microphone close up to it and I'm like, psst.
Does she listen? Is she listening right now? I don't actually know. She knows that we do this podcast, and
no, I just don't want her to listen to this and me be like, "There's you hoeing it about." Do you know what I mean? I don't really.
She knows a lot about me at this point, so I think.
Oh, so okay. She knows you hoe it about.
No, she doesn't. Wow, this is exactly why she doesn't want to meet you. Right here. No, we do, but I think we'd only just started dating when we started doing this podcast, so she knows that I do this podcast. I did tell her to please not listen. Just because it was a very new relationship, so
you didn't want to scare her off.
I didn't want to scare her off, but now she's on my Facebook and stuff like that, so she will have seen us advertising the podcast and stuff. So I don't actually know. I haven't asked her if she's listened. She does ask me every week what we're gonna do.
If you were listening to this, please comment at this exact moment and just say, "Hey, it's me." Voila!
So I don't know. I'll after we've done this, I'll message her and see if she does. Or maybe we just leave it.
We just leave it and see if she does.
We'll send it live, and then
Yes.
that will determine if she's been listening to the podcast or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago that I did say no. It would have been longer than that.
Let's see. Let's see
We've
if
done.
she comments.
Where's this? This is episode 4, so it would have been 8 weeks ago that I did say don't. Please
Okay.
don't listen.
Yeah, I probably would have started by now as well after 8 weeks. I'd have been like, yeah, I'm just going to start.
Well, she might do, but she's busy. She has things going on, so she might not be.
Nothing's more important than this.
I think she would. I think she'd disagree with you, but
Oh, and that's it from us.
that's it for us. Yeah. We've talked about this. You've outed the fact that I'm dating, and
Yeah, exactly. And that's been our date. That's been dating with Kaylee 101. No, no. What we would actually like is we'd love to hear more from you. I would
yes,
love
comments.
to
Lots of
hear
comments.
from anyone who has experienced any sort of weirdness or strangeness that's gone on in the workplace. If you've been discriminated against, if you haven't, or someone has inadvertently discriminated, whatever, let us know. Post a comment. I really want to hear.
Let us know about anybody that's been like super amazing and really supportive and has like surprised you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Someone that's not, that you've thought
Someone
to
that's
yourself,
gone out of
oh
the way
God.
to like protect and defend you, I
Yeah.
guess.
And then turned out they're actually a really great person. Yeah, literally tweet us or DM us at A Sure Thing on Twitter. Or you can leave a comment at A Sure Thing on YouTube. And whilst you're there, why not just leave a comment, a like, a subscribe maybe. Maybe you hit that subscribe
I'm
button.
gonna hit the bell.
And you hit the bell as
For your
well.
notifications.
Just to remember when we upload. Yeah?
Cringe.
Or we're becoming master marketers.
No, I'm just still cringing.
That's fine, you can cringe, I'm not going to. And of course, whilst you're there, check out our social links, because you can also, buy us a coffee, because without coffee...
I may die.
Oh, May. You see, you said might in the last one, and now it's May.
I might.
Or you can subscribe to us on Patreon as well. We post every 2 weeks, so we will be back again in 2 weeks' time.
We certainly will.
All right, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.